yes, so I was reading everybody's posts. And so even though I didn't realize I was future self journaling, during all of those times that were so hard for me, um, but when I realized or I first heard about the science of it, about how it makes you more conscious, I'm like, oh, yes, of course, it makes so much sense that when everything felt so ambiguous, I could at least like take my pen to paper and this is my latest and greatest journal. And I just felt like this is like something that wouldn't judge me. And I could write out everything that I wanted to create and everything that I wanted to be. And it was almost like I was always writing letters to myself about what I wanted to create. And as many of you said, you can't control what happens to you. But I believe it was Valerie, you were saying, like, I can't always control what other people do, but I can always be conscious about the choice that I'm making in that moment when it happens to me. And so when I'm writing about people I admire, my values guides, when I'm writing about the qualities that I want to cultivate, it's just going to be more conscious and top of mind for me that when I'm in that moment, it's like, oh, yeah, like now this is the thing that I knew was going to happen. This is, when I need to, choose to make the best next choice that aligns with my values. And so I'd be curious if anybody's values maybe might be popping up. So I think I've been honest in sharing my values are love, respect, family, creativity, and learning. So if some words, well, thank you, Amber. I'm going to tell you guys where to get it here by the end of this call. She said she liked my notebook. So maybe some words are popping up for you guys of things that you value or qualities you want to cultivate. I have a couple friends whose values are freedom. So when they're thinking about showing up, using their true voice, they're always thinking about creating freedom. Or when they're thinking about showing up using their true voice, they're thinking about love or humility or respect or a million different things. I give my clients an assignment to discover their values, and it has a list of like 100 values words. So there's like no right or wrong answer. So today's is going to be a little bit shorter and sweeter. Now, I promised you guys 15-minute training sessions, but hey, Ann, but I got wordy. So Denise, connection value is really being challenged right now. I miss my people. And I've had conversations with Denise. So yeah, like we can't see as many people as possible. However, Denise is in a career, and I'll let her share what she wants to share, where she still does have contact with people. And I just want to highlight her for a minute that I know that she shared with me that she's had two really big pieces of success at work where she was chosen for something, and her team and the people she was working with were chosen because she really lived out her value of connection. She's like, I infused connection in everything I did in that project and everything I did in that write-up and everything we did in this transaction, and that's why we were chosen. And that's what it looks like to show up as your authentic self in your true voice, because she's going to bring her genuine, authentic energy into that situation, because everything she's doing is all about connection. How can I create connection? This is important to me. So hope it's okay that I outed your example, Denise. It was so inspiring. And of course, like, you were glowing. And that's how you know you're working towards where you need to go, is because like using your true voice and showing up as your authentic self should never feel heavy. So today I shared with you guys a post about choosing confidence over conformity. Like when we're working in conformity, it just feels like, do you guys ever just feel like you're trying to show up at work, but you're pushing a rock uphill? Like those were always clues for me that I knew I was getting burnout or something I was working on wasn't aligned, because it just felt so hard and my energy would deflate, and it just felt like it took so much exertion and ideas were hard to come by. Whereas people who are living in confidence, like ideas should feel abundant and it should be exciting. It should almost be magnetic. Like there's this constant pull of something that's like pulling you towards it. And yeah, so Amber says she feels like blah. Hey, Mary. Yeah, you do. You just feel like all of the energy has just been sapped out of you. So yeah, that's just some clues that you can really start to pay attention to. And when I work with my clients, I really work with them on trusting their intuition and trusting what I call all of their intelligence centers. So all their ways of knowing. See, in school, whether we're growing up in elementary school or in college or even in leadership development training that I've ever taken in corporate, they've all taught us how to be really good here. You know, how to understand our personality and how to make decisions and how to do pros and cons and how to do reason and logic and how to look at the facts. And that's great. That's here. But actually, I don't know if you guys know this. And again, I'm teaching you stuff that I actually teach my one-on-one clients and I teach in my semi-annual Clarity and Confidence Masterclass, which is coming in September, more to come. I teach them actually a physiological fact that our brains process information at 40 bits per second. Okay, that's like pretty fascinating, pretty cool. Have you guys, though, ever felt something that you couldn't put into words? So let me know. Have you guys ever felt something that you just couldn't put, it's like this, I just can't put it into words, I can't feel it. Well, I'm getting goosebumps. That's because the body processes information at 11 million bits per second. So 11 million bits per second, 40 bits per second. So our bodies are wiser than our mind. It's why we get feelings about things that we just can't articulate. Yes, Chris, all the time, yes. We just can't put it into words. It's almost like we have these spidey senses. Guys, that's our intuition. And for so long, especially in Western society, we've been told like not to trust our bodies. In fact, as women, our bodies are like often like objectified and we have to present our bodies in a certain way, or to be accepted, our bodies have to look a certain way. And so they become this objects instead of like this entire source of information. And it is amazing when you actually start to pay attention. I asked you guys, what lights you up versus what makes you feel drained? Those are huge clues on how your body, your second intelligence center, is actually giving you very important information. Now, you guys know this, and you're going to be aware of it now that after you leave today, you're going to walk into situations, go, ooh, that just doesn't feel right. That person doesn't feel right. This project that they're asking me about doesn't feel right. But all too often, and let me know if you guys do this, we get gut feelings about things, intuitions, little whispers, sparks of insight. And we're like, ooh, that would be cool. But how quickly does our brain come in to talk us out of it? Like only every day. That's why oftentimes, again, our bodies are wiser than our mind. And many people will often say, you know what? I wish I just would have trusted my gut. How many of you have ever had your gut tell you something wrong? I know I haven't. I've had a lot more situations where I say, gosh, I wish I just would have trusted my gut. So, side tangent, wasn't even planning to talk about it, but then I got into the whole energy thing of, following your true voice and your authentic self and your intuition, and it should feel magnetic, easy, flow, creative. Where when you're trying to show up in conformity, which is what somebody else expects, you're usually following someone else's, prescription, you're force fitting, and it just feels heavy and draining. And so that's clues on if you know you're in your true voice. So, with all of this stuff, okay, how do you have the courage to speak your truth? Like, what about confidence, like a boost of confidence for right at the moment that it matters? So when I think about this, it's like, okay, how do I go into a high stakes meeting and where do I get that boost of confidence? Like right away, of course, wanted my dad to teach me to play golf. And so he taught me all the mechanics. And one day we were out at the driving range, and of course, I'm trying to hit the ball. I'm trying not to whiff, which I do Did a lot at the time. I'm trying to at least to get the ball go like at least, 90 yards. That would be great. And he asked me, he goes, okay, wait a minute. He goes, when you line up and you look at the ball, he goes, what are your swing thoughts? And I'm like, I don't know. Just, that I don't embarrass yourself. He's like, no. He's like, that's not a good swing thought. He goes, your swing thoughts. He goes, what is the last thing you think about before you swing the club? He's like, it has to be something that is going to register here that's then is going to travel into your body. He goes, because at some point when you're playing golf, you have to turn your left brain off. And what he means by left brain is that thinking brain, the logic, the pros, the cons. Because if you're constantly in your head, like we talked about, right, you can't let your body take over. He goes, you got to be right-brained in golf, meaning that's movement, that's creativity. You just got to let it flow. So he's like, what's the last thing you think about so that your right brain can take over? And he called them swing thoughts. And I was like, oh, well, this is genius, because, you want to think about something good so that when you get in and adrenaline takes over and you're in the moment and you're in the meeting or you're in the conversation, like your feeling state, right? You're feeling confident, creative, courageous, authentic, whatever feeling state that is, you want to be in that in the meeting. So that's the energy that you're carrying through the conversation, that you're carrying through the presentation. Your how you want to feel could be aligned with your values. And what he told me was that swing thoughts actually came from a lot of his coaching terminology or his coaching time. So he coached wrestlers, had a lot of state champions and a lot of state championship teams, and he would always coach them on their mindset. What is their mindset, and what's the last thing they think about before they walk onto the mat to take on their opponent, or they walk out into the football field, or he was a cross country coach, before they would line up and the gun would fire and they'd take off. And I carried that into corporate, and it came at just the right time, because I was sent to do a presentation, and this is funny, ironic, and sad all at the same time. First off, where I was going was and for a couple of you are in healthcare, I was going to go speak at a NETEC conference. And so for those of you who know what NETEC means, it's a National Ebola Training and Emergency Preparedness Conference. So this is at the time when Ebola was the latest scare, and organizations were preparing their staff for pandemics, such as a time like this, right? So it's so funny. So these were really, really smart people that knew really smart things about deadly things, okay? But here's the trigger. So not only did I have imposter syndrome because I was talking to people who had more degrees and more expertise and more certifications than I would ever dream to get, okay? But they really wanted my boss, who at the time was a New York Times best-selling author, highly sought after keynote speaker in the corporate world. Many people know who she was. It was Cy Wakeman, for those of you who don't know. They couldn't, my boss wasn't available, so they got me. Second dose of imposter syndrome. So I'm like pacing outside the room that I'm about to present, and it's several hundred people in there. And, all I can think about is like, oh my God, like I'm going to be such a disappointment. They really wanted my boss. It's the whole imposter syndrome thing. Like, this is going to be when I'm found out. I'm going to screw up. These people are geniuses. They're going to see through me. Have you guys ever had these things? Like, does this happen to you before you go into meetings? Or tell me, like, what is kind of that doubt that you have before you go into situations like this? And I thought about my dad's swing thoughts, because I think he must have just had this conversation with me shortly before that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need a swing thought. I need a swing thought. And I'll just share with you guys what it was. And I just remember, like, I took a big, huge, deep breath, and that's another trick you can do. Breathe in for 4 and breathe out for 4. And if you haven't taken a deep breath in a couple days, now is a good time. And doing that will settle your whole nervous system down. And I just kind of got still. And what came to me was like, you know what? It could be true that they wanted my boss. It could be true that these people are really smart. But what I know to be true for me right now is that I am meant to be here for these people at this time for this purpose with whatever message they need to hear today. And that was so calming to me. Now, it didn't eradicate my nerves, but it at least brought me down a notch. And you know what? I went in, I delivered the presentation, and I was fine. And I think one of the things that we forget, you guys, is that we can present in front of really smart people. But you know what? They were really smart about deadly viruses. They weren't necessarily educated on some of the tools that I was going to teach them about leadership and those sorts of things. Just like I think sometimes, guys, we get so wrapped up about sharing our ideas in front of a group or asking for what we need because we think that other people know better. And I think sometimes we overlook, and I encourage you all to not overlook the unique expertise that you bring to the table, that you know a lot more sometimes about one thing than maybe what they know about other things. And I think we discount our expertise, and just that alone can kind of take that imposter syndrome and just kind of... So that swing thought that I had in that moment made me feel a lot more confident, a lot more energetic, and, you know, just put me in a better place to help me bring better energy into the room. Because you know what, my focus became on how can I show up and be the best person for them to create a great experience for them. And that's where my energy shifted instead of on my own nervousness. So your assignment is to come up with your swing thought. And there can be lots of swing thoughts, okay? So that swing thought has served me very well when I need to go in and present in front of hundreds of people, okay? That's a good one. I have other swing thoughts for, you know, other times. And so here, I'm trying to find their science behind it here. So there is actually science behind this. If I can find, oh, here we go. It is on page 5 of your workbook. So Stacie Bloom, so she is a neuroscientist that covered, hey Melody, that studies the link between confidence and the brain and tells us that repetition and practice changes your brain to be more confident. And a great way to boost your confidence is to practice a confidence mantra, or more fun called swing thoughts, okay? You're always gonna think about swing thoughts and swinging golf clubs. But it's a confidence mantra right before you walk into high stakes situations. It can be a simple phrase or sentence to boost your confidence right at the moment that it matters most so you can speak your truth. And I gave you guys some prompts, okay? Like, what is your confidence mantra? I don't know. You need to think of something that feels empowering and uplifting to you, that gets your body in the right feeling state. That's why I ask you, like, what are you called to do? What's your unique gift? What impact were you born to make? And what can get you in that feeling state? How do you want to feel when you go into those situations? That's a great question to ask yourself, because when you can get into the feeling state of how you want to feel, maybe write down 3 words. And in mine, I wanted to feel confident, I wanted to feel inspiring, and I wanted to make the audience feel curious about themselves. So how do I get into that feeling state? Okay, well, when I know that feeling state that I want to be in, what thought, what swing thought, what confidence mantra is going to help me get there? And again, you can have lots of them. You can have one for, you know, negotiating your salary, one before you raise your hand and ask a question in a Zoom meeting, one before you present, and you can have a million of them. So sometimes I need them before I go into social situations. I'm an introvert, total introvert. And sometimes I need some social swing thoughts. I'm not gonna lie. My last question in there is, this is my favorite one. And I asked my daughter this the other day. What discomfort am I willing to experience to advocate as my true self? The reason I have that, you guys, is swing thoughts are amazing and they can get us in a great feeling state, and they can be super empowering to have right at the moment that it matters. And we must also be willing to accommodate the discomfort that comes with speaking up and advocating our truth. I think sometimes we think that, you know what, I'll have the courage to speak my truth when I feel comfortable and easy and relaxed and fun. And that's great to think about that, but there is always still those little butterflies. A great example last night was, and you guys will laugh about this, raise your hand or drop me a yes if you have kids. I have a teenager, and this teenager is wanting a job so she can have money. And most places she can apply online, but this one place, you guys, and now she's Gen Z, you guys are gonna laugh at this, she has to pick up the phone and call. Girlfriend has to get on the phone, and getting on the phone and talking to someone is like terrifying for someone in Gen Z. They're like, can I TikTok them? Can I apply online? So let me know if you guys have kids. Is this a thing or is this just my kid? But, and I said, well, why do you want a job? And she goes, well, she wanted to work at Chick-fil-A. I said, well, why do you want a job at Chick-fil-A? Because I like their food. Okay. Why else do you want a job at Chick-fil-A? Because I like their values. Okay. But why do you really want a job at Chick-fil-A? So I can make money. I'm like, well, why do you want money? She's like, so I can go out with my friends and do fun things and buy stuff. I'm like, okay, so what discomfort are you willing to accommodate so that you can have a job that makes money so you can go out and have friends? And she's like, well, I gotta be okay feeling nervous calling the manager and asking if they're hiring. I'm like, yes. I said, but is it worth it? Yes. Megan, you have 3 kids. All right. So you guys know this. So I just put that question in there because you guys, confidence mantras are awesome. I have several. Asking yourself what feeling state you want to be in is amazing, and it helps you get your whole body into that. It helps get your energy going in the right way. It